Roll for Crit is made possible thanks to the support of viewers like you and our patrons on our Patreon page.
You can become a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Today on Roll for Crit, we're taking a sidestep into the world of streaming television as we discuss The Queen's Gambit, a miniseries that's on Netflix right now about the character Beth Harmon. This takes place in the 50s, and she is orphaned at a young age and ends up learning how to play chess and ends up entering some chess tournaments and gets better and better and really is something of a prodigy. And the series follows her journey playing games, learning new techniques, as well as struggling with some drug and alcohol problems here and there. It is a big series. It's blown up. Everybody's talking about it. And in addition to that, everybody these days right now is talking about chess. As a result of the show, interest in chess has gone up a lot in casual and competitive circles. Sales of chess have been exploding. People online are talking about it, trying to find ways to play it. So we're going to talk about, as a board game channel, we're going to look at this show from that point of view. What does it say about the game of chess? How is it depicted? And why don't we start with that? Will, what is your, I don't know about experience, but I guess you could talk about that, your level of interest. Just what do you think about chess in general? And with that as a baseline, what did you think about it as it was depicted watching this show?
Chess is one of those games I've known about for a long time. It's one of those because it's like poker, checkers. It's a very old game. So usually you're going to be introduced to it at a young age. And you learn some of the pieces, some of the more face value moves, but I never learned about the complicated maneuvers or openings that they name throughout the show. For the most part, a chessboard has been more like a coffee table book. It's something to look pretty, but no one actually plays it.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. I know in my family we had a chessboard growing up that I would kind of like I knew how the pieces moved, and I knew how to play. And I think I would play a little bit in school sometimes with people before I discovered, before Catan became a thing. I'd play stuff like Battleship and chess sometimes. But like you, I've also I don't know anything about, the deeper strategies. So all that stuff in the show, from what I know, I believe it's pretty accurate and well depicted in terms of how faithful it is to what it's like to play chess, but they could have made all that stuff up and I would have been none the wiser.
No, I don't think they actually need to make things up for this. One of the reasons chess has been able to survive in a lot of these games when compared to something like checkers where it's more of a joke, when you actually get into it, they have all these crazy maneuvers and names when you get to the top levels. So there is a lot more that we're not used to. And I think it was in the first episode. It might be second, but someone says each space has a name, and you'll learn those. Like the fact that a square has its own story to tell, so to speak, just shows how much has gone into the game.
I look at the game with two very different minds. On one hand, obviously it's been around for so long. Clearly there are many layers of strategy to it to sustain it for this amount of time. But then I think, we are board game reviewers. If chess came out today, and I know that doesn't make sense because probably a lot of board games wouldn't exist without chess, but if chess were a new game today and we were reviewing it, I don't think I would like it that much. There are a lot of things, the theme is pretty bland, the pieces aren't that interesting, I don't know, once you've played a few games, there's no randomness, there's no, extra fun stuff. I would want an expansion, I would want asymmetrical powers for each side, stupid things, but there is a level for me that I think to really enjoy chess at a deep strategic level, you have to be willing to memorize a lot of things and really, there are books written about the different maneuvers for it. And for me, that's really not my kind of game. So this show, made me very interested in it. And I think there's some level where I can enjoy watching it and even enjoy playing it from time to time, but I don't think that I could ever really want to get on that level, the amount of effort that you have to put into it. I don't know that it would be worth it for me, but it was very satisfying to watch that depicted on screen when I could just sit back and not think about it for myself.
Yeah, I think it was in a podcast you said this, that you read somewhere that this is like the first shonen anime with a woman protagonist.
There was a tweet, yeah, where someone made a joke about that.
It does play like a lot of those. I haven't seen all of them, and I'm almost certain there's one about chess. There's got to be, but the idea where they focus on a game or a sport in very heavy detail, and it follows a lot of the same patterns. So for me, it's like I've seen this before, and when people watch this, they might get excited, but then at the same time, I'm also like, but you weren't excited in chess before, or like you never really wanted to play this sport before. Does watching someone become really good at tennis now really mean you're going to put in the effort to do? It's just very interesting when I see all this, especially with something like chess. It's not I've never been to a tennis court. It's like you've probably seen a chessboard in your life.
There's definitely a part of it, I think, is that people just think, well, I can't really be good at tennis. I'm not going to pay to take lessons. I'm not going to buy a tennis racket. I'm not going to go to the tennis court or whatever the game is. But, I can play chess for free on my computer right now. So there's a part of your brain that thinks, hey, maybe I could get good at it. I mean, it takes a very different kind of skill. But I think that's why it's appealing to more people as like something they want to get into now versus a sports movie or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, to you, if this game came out now, one of the things you said is you feel like it would be a little dry. And I think that would be true for a lot of people. Without that announcer, which is still like much more of a golf announcer in this versus like if you watch an anime, they're like, oh, he moved rook to b5.
You can also compare a lot of the tropes in this to a lot of, even though this is based on a fictional book, it's not about a real person. It feels to me like a biopic. It feels like a lot of different, like Ray, any of those biopics about musicians or famous actors, almost inevitably, a lot of them have to do with drug and alcohol problems. They kind of follow this trajectory of like starting out and then getting really good and like, falling into problems. I think a lot of it's really well executed in that sense too, but it is funny to see those tropes associated with the game of chess. And even like you said, the tournaments, watching how those play out, this very, very suspenseful, high stakes. And it's not like I'm not getting into it. I enjoyed it, and I'm right there where the show wants me to be. But it is funny to take a step back and be like, in real life, this would probably not be that much fun for me to actually watch. I don't know that I'd be the person hanging outside, waiting for the kid to run out to shout, "Queen to rook 4!" and me like, "Whoa! Queen to rook 4!" Much fun.
I feel like I'm going to continue comparing it. Take any of the scenes when she's playing chess with, like later on, not when she's learning. In this show, the way you learn about it is there's an actual announcer. Usually just saying things. Maybe someone might say a line or two. So it's exactly how you would expect it. And the other shows, usually there's a whole dialogue, which is a little exaggerated. Be like, he did the bear's den. That's not usually a defensive move, only saved for, like they go into a whole epilogue, like what you'd actually read in those books. I don't think of like, oh, this player was a defensive player or something like that. Outside of like, her too.
The show, I don't think, really does a deep dive into a lot of the specifics of like how the chess maneuvers work. I think they go into just enough detail for it to not be very boring, which I think helps people get into it. And I think another reason that a lot of people are like attracted to chess watching this show is in other ways too. They make the game of chess somehow seem very sexy. And apologize for using that term, but it's like everyone who's playing chess in these tournaments is like looks cool. They're wearing these like 50s suits and smoking cigars and stuff.
What's his name? I think it was Benny.
Cigars. Benny, yeah. Benny is one of the champions.
Like he has like a cowboy hat and stuff. I'm like,
oh yeah.
He actually is an anime character. He's the one who stands out from the rest. Like general guy in bright clothing, and like I was like, oh my god, that is an anime character.
It's another thing about the show too is that traditionally female players aren't as prevalent in chess tournaments and things. So
I wouldn't even just say chess, just I feel like our hobby,
in
any of the
in
proceeds.
tabletop games. Although that's, I think in tabletop games that's changing a lot more. But I think that's a great thing about this show is, you know, it will maybe encourage more women to get into chess. Young girls might, I mean, maybe they shouldn't be watching this show, but they might see it and be encouraged to play games like this. In addition to just the general populace. But what about you? After watching this show, why don't we sum up? Do you think? Did you feel like you wanted to play chess after the show? Did it give you any desire to play it more in any capacity?
Not really. I feel like it was not, if it went like what you said, it would have probably ruined the show for more people if they went a little bit deeper into those moves and stuff. It's sort of like I know the feeling after watching a show like this. Like, it's cool to see it, and especially when you see the high points, but like, I know chess, and it didn't really grab me as much because I didn't feel like they had that. Because, I mean, I don't think the show would have been as well received. It had that, you know, the cartoonishly over energetic explanation or something, which usually what hooks me. I like that cheesiness.
I mean, I definitely am not gonna go out there and start, you know, buying chess books and trying to brush up on my openings and such. But it did make me kind of want to play it a little bit. Like, I'm sure I would play it like 2 or 3 times and be like, yeah, that's all I needed. But it was enough to get me kind of excited. Like, yeah, this is cool. This is fun. And I could see how for people, especially who aren't in our hobby and don't have 100 board games to play.
That is a big difference, especially when it comes to us, you know.
Like they look at this and they're like, oh, like board game. Maybe they never thought about board games at all, you know, as being, let alone chess, as being something that would be this fun, potentially this fun or exciting. Whereas for us, we've experienced a lot of the moments, like the feelings maybe depicted in this with more modern games.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, a lot of the modern games wouldn't exist without chess, and I think that's true because the idea, the strategies of moving things around, of being more than checkers, those moments when you move your piece around, you realized, oh my God, I'm in a trap. Like, those were some really great moments. Those are the sexy scenes of chess. It's hard not to be allured by that, especially if you've never really played on a tabletop area.
Well, it's out there right now, chess. You can go try it today.
And the show.
At a retailer near you. Yeah, and the Queen's Gambit on Netflix now. I recommend you at least either watch the show or play the game. Maybe both, but at least one I think you should try if you're interested. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of the show, The Queen's Gambit? And are you someone who is familiar with chess in an intricate, deep way that liked or didn't like the show? Or did you watch it not having familiarity and then decide to play it because of the show? Because it'd be interesting to hear the different stories from either of those angles. You can talk to us in the comments right down below. Till then, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This was Roll for Crit.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing and supporting us on Patreon.
You're not a hidden traitor, are you? Come on, like us.